Okay, let's look at output, how you output work from Cinema 4D. Because obviously you know how to render it, which is Command R. Command R. Or you can hit the render button here, but that's just a still. We need to see it playing, and obviously if you press play, you haven't got it rendered, you've got all of this in, and you need to screen capture it. So how do you output actual files from Cinema 4D? So what you'll notice is that there is an area here which is brighter. This bit here is darker. Now what that represents is the light bit is the bit that will currently output. This bit, anything that's in this area here or this area here, won't be included in anything that you export. And where you set all of that is up in the render settings. So look for the render tag, the clapperboard with the cog on it, which is this one. And let's just go through some of these settings. So the first one, by default, it says preset 1280-720. So this from there to there is 1280, and this from here to here is 720. So if, for instance, I wanted to fit it exactly in there, what I would do is I'd zoom in and get it to about where I want it. And I know now that this is the bit that will be exported to 1280-720. But you'll notice that there are some other presets. So the screen, film and video, mobile devices, print portrait, and print landscape. Now if you wanted print portrait and you selected A3, this area here is the bit that's going to be exported to A3. So in this case, I probably think I want to zoom in a bit. Something like, say that. That's the bit that I want. So this is the bit that will make up the A3. If I was to go to A3 landscape, this is A3 landscape. So again, just manipulate the view till it fits, till it sits where you want in the composition. So that looks about right for me, an A3, maybe across a little bit. So hopefully that makes sense what this dark area is. Now, if we look at these, you'll see that the print ones are set up for 300 dots per inch, which is what we talked about when we were looking at Photoshop. You'll see that currently it's set to only render the current frame. So it'll only render frame 168. If you go into here and you select film and video, and you selected HD TV 1080, 25 frames a second. That's full HD at 25 frames a second, which is European standards. Okay, so this is the area that's going to be full HD, and you can see that probably I want to zoom out a bit. Okay, whoops. So hopefully that makes sense. Now in this next thing down is save. So where do you want to save it to? When you render it, where do you want to save it to? Well, click this, and you will get the standard box to name it and say that you want it to be on the desktop. There we go, and save, and it fills this out for you. Format, TIFF. Well, we want it to be a video, so I'm going to export it as an MP4, but you've got all these still formats you could do. I'll go MP4. The other things, don't worry about the other things, we'll come to those later. The only other one that you might look at is the one that says anti-aliasing. That's to do with the smoothness of the edges. So anti-aliasing, if you were given the choice between none, geometry, or best, you probably want best. Okay. Filter, the options are still image, animation, or some things that you don't understand. So animation. Okay. Then when you close this down, we've still not rendered it. In order to render it, you need to click this one. And if you notice, it rendered very, very quickly, and that's a sure sign that if I go into output, I've still got it set to current frame. I want all frames. Okay, so change that and just render it again, which is this middle one. You'll get a message saying, do you want to overwrite the one that you just did? I do, because that's the one that I just rendered out with one frame. And let it do its thing, and you can see all the frames starting to render out here. So we've got 250 to go, and on my computer it's going quite quickly, but you'll see that it'll take a while. So I'll let it render, I'll speed this up and come back to you when it's done. Okay, it's just coming to an end, and you can see it's nearly made it to the end, almost there, and it's done. So if we just go to the desktop now, where I saved it to, there should be a file called aaa.mp4, and here it is. Looking good. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, in the case of what I think we might suggest, that something like this is very sort of Instagrammable, but the classic Instagram is square. So the maximum size that you can upload, the best quality you can upload on Instagram is 1080 by 1080. So if we just look at how we would set this to do 1080 by 1080, let's just go into the render settings and go to the output and have a look at these different outputs. Well, the screen, there's nothing there that's 1080, 1080, although there is square. So in here, look, it's done 1024 by 1024. So we've got it set up, all frames. And let's just change it to 1080 by 1080. So here it is square. And let's just zoom in a bit and just make it fit how we want. I did notice that when I was rendering, it was still passing below, so you can see here. So I'm just going to get the floor and I'm just going to move it down until it's no longer passing through the floor. And what I might do is, because I want it to loop, I'm just looking at where this is here now. So look for this shape at the bottom here and just play it through until you get it back again. And I think it's about there somewhere. So 155 and 0. Yeah, 155 and 0. So let's do that. Let's do 0 to 155. We've got everything else set correctly. We're going to go into save and we're just going to give it another A. Okay, and save, and it's MP4, that's fine, and render, and let it go. I wish I'd just not mucked up there, but we'll let that go for the moment. So this is obviously much smaller than the previous one and much shorter, so this is going to render much quicker. I suspect I've got the loop not quite right, but we can always trim it if we need to. So when we go to here, desktop, here's the new one. And this one is Instagram 1080 1080. Okay, so let's just play that. And let's just set it to loop. See what that looks like. Pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good actually. Yeah, there is a tiny little jump just coming up now. You'll see it just here, but not bad. Yeah, so that's how to export to a video. If you want stills, it's the same process. You just select a different file format. That's it. Next thing, how can we make it into a GIF?